Hello, hello. Yes, we are already at week 2. And I know some of y'all might be like, wait a minute, why does she look like that? Well, today, I actually decided that I was going to come before you very bare, intentionally, especially with what we're going to be discussing, which is brows, balance, and basics. So I felt like in order for us to talk about all of those things, we need to go to the very basics, which means I have nothing on my face right now other than my skincare. So y'all ready to jump into it? Let's go. All right, so I'm gonna put a little hand sanitizer on, and I'm gonna take my glasses on and off multiple times. But what you will see is a lot of redness, like a lot of redness, a lot of really small red bumps, okay? And to be completely transparent, it's probably been about 3 years ago now. I received a product, and I get products all the time. Hair, makeup, skincare, I get all kind of stuff all the time. And about 3 years ago, it might be a little bit longer now, I received a product that a company wanted me to test. And I'll be honest, I did not follow my first mind, and that was my first mistake. So I received a product. It was a moisturizer. So it was something that I was supposed to use after I had cleansed my face. And I looked at their website. I was trying to look up information about, the product and all of the things that they claimed. And I found it, but what I didn't find was anybody who necessarily I felt like looked like me or resonated with individuals that I work on in their advertisements. Second ding. Okay, keep going. But even within that, I was like, you know what? They sent it to me. They're expecting a review. Let's do it. So cleanse my face, put the moisturizer on. I didn't feel any sensation, didn't think anything of it. Went to sleep. Woke up the next day, and I looked like I had received a chemical burn, or like it literally, I was red all over. And I'm going to show some pictures of that eventually, but I was red all over my face. And it was a lot of these red bumps, but it was covered. And it was almost like they had scabbed, like they had a little crust over them. It was all over my face. So I was itching. I was doing everything I could to try to get it to combat. And as an esthetician, you go into, doctor mode for yourself. So I was doing all of these things to try to get it to calm down. It would calm down, but then it would flare back up. It would calm down, then it would flare back up. So I was reaching out to the company, crickets, didn't hear anything from them. I was reaching out to other estheticians because I'm like, something is happening and I cannot explain it. So I reached out to like 2 or 3 other estheticians that were within my circle. And I would go see them and be like, okay, what do you guys think it is? And this went on for a period of 6 months, me trying to get it under control. And in that kind of 6th month, one of my esthetician friends was like, I really think that you had an allergic reaction to something that was in the ingredients. Again, reaching out to the company, don't hear anything from them. So I'm taking matters into my own hands to really kind of rectify the situation with my skin at this point. So I remember going to see one of my esthetician friends because I had a speaking engagement, and I was like, look, I have to get in front of a group of people. I do not want to be looking crazy. Please help me. So she gave me a facial to calm my skin. And at that time, we used a product called Hail and Hush, which is specifically formatted for sensitive skin. And it worked for like 6 months. And then after 6 months, it stopped working. And then I had to find another product. And then I had to find another product. So I have been on a journey for 3 years, and I'm having a bit of a flare up right now, which is why it's so irritated. But in all honesty, this is a lot better than what it looked like years ago. And like I said, I'm having a flare up, and normally I'll have these blotchy flare ups when I know that I have other things that are going on in my life. So long story short, I did end up having to seek counsel of a physician, and what she basically told me was that because of all of the ingredients that were in that particular product, they all counteracted themselves. And then when it came in contact with my skin was like, what is this that you are doing? No. And it tried to fight against all of that. And it ended up compromising my skin barrier. So I have been fighting a battle with kind of formulating my skin's barrier for years now. And it's crazy to think that using something one time can do that, but it can, which is why I feel like it's super important to emphasize as we go through this class, everything is not for everybody. You know, I know there's tons of people out there that are giving you information, friends, family, internet sensations, you know, people like myself, but I feel like for me, what makes me different is, one, I'm going to give you a very real review on things, not just how I responded to it, but how I've seen my clients respond to it. So I have been in healing mode, and I have to take allergy pills when I'm in this flare-up time frame. So basically what it has kind of turned into is contact dermatitis. So I get very irritated when anything comes in contact with my skin. Like one itch can cause everything to flare up. Like if something touches my face, everything can flare up. If I'm stressed, everything can flare up. If I'm in pain, everything can flare up. If I'm not getting enough sleep, everything can flare up. So I am coming out of a flare up right now because I had a really stressful week a couple of weeks ago, and this is the result of it. But like, honestly, I know it might look bad, but this is not bad. So let's jump into it. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you a little bit about some of the products that I'm using currently. I'm just putting hand sanitizer on my hand. When it comes to basics and balance. So if you are somebody that you know has sensitive skin or fights acne and things of that nature, when it comes to your skin prep, you definitely have to do a little bit more, okay? So these two wipes are, you know, Cetaphil is gentle, and then Aveeno, this is also gentle. Both of these I keep not only for myself, but for my clients because they are sensitive skin, and I don't have to worry about having any issues with them. Now, because, like I said, my skin has been irritated, I don't suggest everybody does this, okay? But this is a sterile alcohol wipe. So just because I have been irritated, I'm gonna go over those spots. Woo, I can feel the burn already, baby. Feel the burn already. So I'm just gonna go over the redness because it has been itching. Even this morning, I had to take a allergy pill. So because of this, I just have to do a little bit more. And I know you're like, oh my gosh, she's really putting alcohol on her face. I am, because I need it to dry out. I want it to be completely dry before I add all of my things. Now, I could go back over it with one of the wipes, but I'm not going to do that. For the purpose of today, I'm actually going to use some hydrocortisone cream. So depending on what your issues are, I have to go through this because of what's happening on my face. So yes, I have to put hydrocortisone cream on when I'm in flare up before I start doing my makeup. So I'll use either cortisone or Aveeno. Normally I use this one here, which is water resistant. I'll use this one at night if I need something a little bit thicker. And then I'll use this one, which is the sensitive skin, throughout the day. Okay, so just a little bit, not a lot. So T-zone, because these are the areas that are itching right now. Whew. Yeah, and I can feel that already. Oh my gosh. I know y'all are like, she really just came on here on week 2 with her skin in a flare-up, showing us how to do something. I sure did. Because this is what people don't do. They don't want you to see them when they jacked up. They want you to see them when everything is butterflies and rainbows. Everything is not always butterflies and rainbows, especially when it comes to skin and hair and makeup. Sometimes we react. And as individuals that are, and let me be very specific in saying this, because this is not talked about enough in the beauty industry, but people with melanated skin react differently than individuals that don't have melanated skin. Now, I know y'all looking at me like, what you mean, girl? You light, are you? Yes, I am a black woman. I am African American. I am not biracial. I'm not mixed. We come in a lot of shapes, sizes, and colors now. We know this. Same thing with the hair texture. But what is important to note is when you are getting skincare services, if you get a chemical peel, you have to do your research on that individual that is giving you that service prior to, because if they don't know how to treat your skin when it starts reacting to that peel, there could be a problem. There are some peels that the burn intensifies with water versus calming down. So that's really important to know, okay? See, it's already calmed down. We just got to be patient. It's already calmed down. This is calmed down, okay? I also make sure that I use a toner. The purpose of toner is to balance the pH of our skin. So we don't want it to be too acidic or too alkaline. We want it to be right there in the middle. So these are two different toners that I use. This one is Embryolisse. It's kind of like a rose water. It's similar to that. And this one is Beekman 1802. And what you'll notice about this is you'll see the separation, right? So you have to shake this one up really well before you use it. I can use either of these as somebody with sensitive skin. I will say I mostly use this one on myself. However, when I am working on my clients, this one is my go-to. Just because everybody doesn't want that additional oil in their skin. I know I need it because of these red blotchy patches. Sometimes they get really, really dry and flaky. So I want a little extra moisture, okay? But I suggest that you just spritz this over the face in an X shape, and that will help balance the pH, okay? So I got it good and mixed up, okay? And we want that to dry as well. So I've wiped my face down. So basically me wiping my face down with the alcohol, that's like our cleansing step, right? We're talking about basics. That's our cleansing step. Not really, but technically that's the cleansing step for today. And then I personally have to put on my hydrocortisone cream. But if you are somebody that doesn't have sensitive skin or does not have issues like I'm having right now, you would go straight from your cleansing step into your your toner, which is to balance the pH, okay? We want that on first before we do our moisturizers, okay? So a few different moisturizers here that I want to show you. All right, so I have Embryolisse. This one goes alongside the brand with that toner. So this is really good. And they have one that specifically says sensitive skin. This is highly moisturizing. So I would say no more than the size of a kidney bean. 2 at most. Okay, a little goes a long way. And then start in the T-zone and work your way out. Okay. Again, for my sensitive skin or my acne skin individuals, Avene, this is a really good one. And it has a pump. So I would say about 2 pumps of this for your moisturizer. And what I'm using currently is by Codex Labs. I'm using both of these. So this particular one is an oil. It's a facial oil. So I'm gonna pour a little out just so you can kind of see. Okay, so I'm not using a ton. And I'm just gonna press. Okay. And I still have some of the product on my hand. I can see it. So I am gonna go in with the moisturizer. I know y'all like, what, you using 2? Yes. Yeah, I'm using 2 only because of what's happening with my skin. Otherwise, I wouldn't use an oil base, okay? And this hydrating superfood, this one is a cream. Okay, again, I don't need a lot because I've already put the oil on. If I was using this by itself before I put on my makeup, then I would use probably a 1/4 size. Okay, and I'm gonna press, and I'm using the palms of my hands, and yes, I am going over my eyes. And then just going upward. Okay, and just whatever I have excess, I'll put on my chest or décolleté. That's what this area is called. Okay, I also like to make sure that I hit behind my ears a little bit. Okay, so I have on my toner, I have on my moisturizer. Then my next step would be to go into my primer, but we're not gonna do that today. I just wanted to do this step as a basic step so that everybody could see, okay, this is what I need to be doing. I should be cleansing. After my cleanser, I should be toning. After my toning, I should be doing a moisturizer. And again, unless you are having some type of crazy allergic reaction like I'm having, you don't have to do that additional step of hydrocortisone cream. You definitely don't have to do that additional step of an alcohol pad because it is drying out the skin. But even with that, like, it's starting to calm down, which is what we want, okay? So let's get into these brows, baby. All right, so I will say, for whatever reason, the Lord decided that he was gonna bless me with hair down my back, but not brows on my face. We can't have everything, which is fine. So this is not over plucking. This is just me literally not having any. So I'm going to show you on myself how you can do your brows and how you can kind of map it out so that you can get the result that you're looking for. Now, before we get into how to do that specifically, I want to show you a couple of different products, okay? So you can use a brow pencil, okay? You can use, and this is just a regular pencil. It has a little brush on the end, but I would say sharpen this really well so that it has a nice, clean, pointed tip, okay? If you like something that's a little bit smaller, you can use this here. Now that's like super small, okay? Which for somebody that has sparse or thin brows, this is gonna be the one for me. That way I can have a little bit more control. And I'll just, you know, kind of twist the cap to pull it out the way that I need to. And then there is a brush on the other side, okay? Now, if you are an individual that likes that staying power from a brow product, I would definitely suggest a pomade, something like this, okay? And it definitely has that staying power. So basically the way that you would use that is you would use some form of a brush, okay? Whether it is a disposable, really thin angled brush, or if it's a thicker angled brush that has a little bit more density to the bristles. Now this one here, this particular brush is the brush that goes actually with that particular pomade. And what they have is on one side, they have the scraper. So you can take the product out of the container, basically like this, okay? With this side, because it's easy to clean. And then you can put it on to your palette, or if you're working on yourself, the back of your hand. And then this side is your brush bristles. Now this one is a lot denser, so it's a lot more firm. If you are somebody that really likes a firm brush, this would be the one for you, okay? So the way that you want to map out, or excuse me, one product I forgot to mention was powder. So now if you are a powder brow user, if you're somebody that likes to use powder for your brows, normally that's going to give you the lighter application. So powder is for more of a light, subtle application. The pencil is more for a little bit more coverage. Pomade is complete coverage. So like, think of it in that sense. Like, what type of brow am I going for? Do I want it to be really soft, or do I want it to really kind of be arched and carved out and like really defined? Okay, so think of it along those terms. So when we're mapping out our brows, I suggest that you use a long brush, some kind of tool. And what you're going to do is use the outside of your nose as your guide. Okay, right here, your nostril. And what you're gonna do is just slide it up. Okay, you see that? Right here is where we're gonna start. That's where the brow is gonna start, okay? And then the highest point of the brow, your arch, again, touching the outside of our nostril and going completely over the pupil. That is where the high point of your brow should be, okay? Over your pupil and still touching your nose, okay? And then where it should end, right here, right where our eye is, the corner of our eye, again, still touching the nose. So that's where it should stop, okay? So we say bang, bang, bang. Got it? Use that as your guide. If you use that as your guide, you can't go wrong, because really the purpose of the brows is to help to frame the face, okay? So think of it along those lines. If you're somebody that is like, I do not want to freehand this, I'm not ready, then get some stencils. There's tons of brands on the market that have brow stencils. This particular brand that I just showed you, Survivor Eyes, they have stencils. They have pencils and they have pomade. Like, honestly, that's my go-to brow product because it was made by a woman that battled cancer, and she had lost all of her hair and her eyebrows and her lashes, so she needed something that had some staying power. So that has been my go-to product for probably about 8 or 9 years now, maybe if not more. And it comes in a lot of different colors, so I can make sure that I'm using the color that's going to be well suited for whoever sits in my chair. Now, I color my hair a lot, but the basis of my hair is brown. So that's why I'm using a brown today. So what I'm going to do is twist up my pencil. I'm using the skinny one. And again, remember, we're going right here. Okay. That's where we're starting, okay? And then that's gonna be our high point, okay? And this, wait, let me do that again so y'all can see that. Hopefully you can see it. That's where we're gonna end, okay? So use that as your guide. All right, y'all ready to get into this? All right, I'm gonna arch this out, so this is gonna go fast motion for you. All right, so we're jumping straight into it, using those 3 markings as a guide, and I'm looking at a mirror on the side just because I don't have my glasses on. It helps me get a closer view. Okay, we have our brows on. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So again, outside of my glasses, this is really helping to frame my face. Let's not pay attention to the redness. We're paying attention to the brows, helping to frame the face. So now you can continue to build from here. You can practice. Now, a couple of things to take into consideration when we're talking about our brows, okay? They're sisters. They are not twins. Sometimes they might look like distant cousins, but they are sisters. They are not twins. And I say that to say the hair growth isn't exactly identical. If you've been blessed and have an identical hair growth pattern on your brows, then kudos to you. But they're not exactly identical. I know for me, my hair growth has more of a straight pattern here and gives a more of an angle, whereas over here it's more of a curve. So I have to decide every day, do I want that angle
to match on this side, or do I want that curve to match on this side? So make it make sense for you and how you are designing your brows. It's not going to look the same for everybody. Now, I will say there are some individuals out there that just absolutely have stunning brows and they don't have to do nothing. Like, it just grows out of their face like that. Like, a lot of times I feel like it's a lot of men, but women that are getting it right, Tiana Taylor, her brows are amazing. Lala Anthony, her brows, amazing. There are a lot of people out there that just have really good hair growth. Now, if you are somebody that is struggling and wants to kind of increase the growth, or wants to do what you can, I've heard rose hip oil helps. I've never tried it myself, and I'm not going to, because we know that I have sensitive skin that is prone to reaction. So that is not our thing, right? But I would say try what works for you. Okay. Now, I feel like week 2 went by really, really fast. But I want to kind of just highlight a couple of things. Now, when we're talking about balance, make sure that in reference to last year, how we were talking about face shape, make sure symmetry makes sense, okay? So make sure that the balance and the symmetry of the brows makes sense for your face shape, okay? Now, your homework, okay, I'm looking at my notes. Your homework is to do brow arching on yourself. Like, I want to see you do this. Like, let me see you with bare brows like I came on here today, and then let me see your process, and then let me see when you're done, okay? So that is the homework for today. Thank you guys for being here with me. Week 2 is now complete, and I will see y'all next week. Thank you for joining me.